If you're able, please rise for pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 104, approval of tonight's agenda.
Make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
Motion by Charlotte, seconded by Jim. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 201, public hearing, final revision to the fiscal year 2023-2024 annual expenditure budget. Airtime.
Hi, President Miller, Dr. Driscoll, thanks for having me tonight to talk about the budget. This is the final revised budget every May. We have to do this. And so it is a revision to the current year budget formula. So how the budget in Arizona works is the budget documents that we have here are all formula driven based on ADM, and then we will budget to that capacity. Because if we don't have budget capacity, anything we don't spend doesn't roll over. So it's not really what I would call a budget. So I'm glad that IBM is going on tonight, because that's kind of more of the budget. That's the planning of how we're going to spend things. This is more compliance driven for these forms. So it's revising it based on now that the 100 days, the first 100 days of school is done. So we have those numbers set. So we have to make a revision because the budget formula will change a little bit. We're already in late May. There's a week left of school, so it's not like we can do a lot of changes to the actual what we're going to spend. So that's where it's really just changing that. So we get paid on the first 100 days for membership, not attendance. Some people think we get paid on if the kids are come to school or not. We actually technically get paid if they're enrolled in those first 100 days. So if a kid enrolls on day 105, we're essentially educating them for free. We don't get any extra funding from the state for that. Same thing if a kid leaves us on day 105, we're not losing any money on that because they only care about those first 100 days. So the total weighted ADM from the beginning of the year decreased by 127 students from that original budget. And for some context, 627,000 in funding compared to the original budget, which that's not nothing. I don't want to downplay that, but the general budget limit's $110 million, so 0.6. So that 600,000 is essentially the 0.6 part. So it would be 111.2 if it was not there. So it is significant, but in the grand scheme of things, it's $110 million for the general budget limit. So there's a lot of talk. I talked a lot last meeting about the revenue control limit, because that's what the overrides are based on. So just for context, that revenue control limit is about $70 million. And so the M&O override is 15% of that. And then remember the 10% we were talking about for the capital. So 10% would be a little more than $7 million on that. So that's already there, and then it should grow as years go on. And that $110 million includes the override for M&O. And one thing just to keep in mind for next year, the state gave us $2.5 million in one-time state aid this year. So it's in that budget limit, but it's not baked into the formula next year. So essentially, we're going to have a $2.5 million less in funding. Even if all the students are the same, funding would go down by $2.5 million. Now we should get at least a 2% increase on the budget formula because it's 2% or inflation, whichever is less, and inflation is more than 2%. So based on that, we still are waiting on the legislature. This is kind of, I'll be honest, I didn't even have to change the slides from last year because the legislature took a long time last year too. So we're still waiting on that. We will, like I said, at least have that 2% funding. And then for our meeting on June 12th, we'll have the proposed budget. And then the June 26th meeting will have the adopted budget. This has to be completed by July 5th. Will be the first one. We don't really have them until late July, so it will be in June on that. All right. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer any.
Also, I just realized I don't have any lights, so if anyone has any questions,
No.
forward, just, talk, yes. So, as we don't have any blue cards, so I guess it's the close of public hearing. Moving on to 301, approval modification of minutes from the May 1st governing board meeting.
Make a motion to approve the modification of minutes from the May 1st governing board meeting.
Second?
A motion by Charlotte, seconded by Allison.
I actually have to abstain. I was-
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
the
same.
same.
I
She
apologize.
wasn't here either. You have to do it. Or I'm
Just
Sorry.
three
You can
person.
make a motion, you just can't vote.
Oh, okay.
Oh, she made the motion.
Yeah.
I
Made a
seconded
motion.
it.
Okay.
It's a motion by Charlotte, seconded by Allison. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Two abstentions.
Two abstentions. Item 302, approval modification minutes from the May 1st executive session.
I can vote
Motion.
on this.
Motion?
I second.
Motion by Allison, seconded by Jim. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And one abstention. Moving on to item 401, presentation Schneider Electric Investment Grade Audit. Brandon Woodward.
Hello, President Miller, members of the board, Dr. Driscoll. My name is Brandon Woodward with Schneider Electric. It's my pleasure to be here tonight. Share something I'm personally very passionate about and something we've been discussing with district leadership for quite some time, and that is answering the question of what's next for Tempe L in terms of sustainability and efficiency. And so Schneider Electric, a while ago, did a very high-level look into just some of your facilities, some of your systems to figure out where we can save energy, save money. And so tonight, we're going to share a very high-level look at just some of the things that we identified that we're recommending the district invest a little more time and energy in looking into. And then number two, the second objective is to talk about our next step, which is a deeper dive investment grade audit to come back with a turnkey solution and guaranteed savings for that. And I've been asked to move quickly through this, so I'm going to keep this very, very high level. Maybe skip a slide or two, and we have any time for questions and comments at the end. Very quickly on Schneider Electric, just want to communicate, this is not our first rodeo. We have done over 1,000 of these projects with school districts across the country, and to date we've saved our customers over $4 billion, which, you know, school funding, and that makes a big difference nationally. So looking at Tempe specifically, you're spending over $3 million a year on your utility costs. Most of that is energy, but a pretty high percentage, about 21% of that is water, which for an elementary district is pretty high percentage-wise. And so that's something we're really diving into, looking a little deeper on where we can impact both of those. But more than just the energy and water, also the operations and maintenance. How can we optimize that, provide Dave and his team the tools, systems, resources they need to be more effective, efficient, and lower some of those maintenance costs. So ultimately, our goal is looking at that $3 million budget and the operations budget. How can we find inefficiencies in both of those to lower those costs? So you're currently overpaying to SRP, City of Tempe Water, because you've got inefficient systems. So how can we capture those inefficiencies and reallocate that towards any number of other modernizations for the district and put that money, instead of overpaying to SRP, put that in the classroom where it belongs. So last piece on this, that guaranteed savings, this is not just a savings number that we throw out and hope you meet. By statute, we are mandated that we have to guarantee the savings of this. If we say we're going to save you $500,000 a year, and we only come up short, we save you $450,000, we're physically writing a check at the end of the year to make you whole on that. So an extra safeguard for the district. Some challenges we identified in that high-level look, boil it down to two things. One, you've got old inefficient systems that are causing you to spend too much, more than you should, on your utility and maintenance budgets. That's no surprise there. And then number two, the district needs help identifying, you've been pretty proactive on efficiency so far, but in identifying what's next and how do we go achieve a broader, longer-term sustainability plan and project for the district. So we're going to look at two of those, and those two is kind of the big challenges, the priorities we identified. I've shared some of those, but more than just changing light bulbs, saving energy, we're really looking at how can those efficiencies also impact the learning environment, modernize the classroom, and also everything we're looking at is self-funding. So financial stewardship is a big piece of this, and that the savings have to pay for all of the upgrades we're recommending. And then lastly on there, as I mentioned, the long-term sustainability solution partner, more than a short-term fix, which there are some short-term fixes we're looking at, but longer-term sustainability program and solution. So, as I mentioned, we did a very high-level look, and this will just give you a glimpse into some of the systems we're looking at. No surprise on there is LED lighting. You've got old inefficient lights across the district. You've got a hodgepodge LED here and there. But you've also got some unlit and underlit areas which lead to some potential safety issues, more in the parking lot than anywhere else. So what we're likely going to recommend is district-wide LED, interior and exterior, that not only have big energy savings, but maintenance savings, safety impact, and a pretty significant change in each and every one of your classrooms. HVAC, good news, bad news. Good news is that Dave and his team have done a phenomenal job of making those systems last longer than they probably should, as you can see here. Bad news is, as a result of that, you've got old systems, you've got inefficient systems. So we're going to work to see where we might be able to help on some of those more critical systems. Your building automation system, this is one that I really like. Dave is very passionate about. Potentially huge savings here because you've got all the tools that you need, all the systems there. What we're looking to do is how do we optimize your central plants in that building automation system to lower those costs and keep things off when no one's using them. On the right there, district electric vehicle infrastructure plan. District has expressed an interest in evaluating, hey, does it make sense for us to add EV chargers at some or all of our facilities? That's exactly what we do, so we're going to be looking at that. Does it make sense to add them? If so, how many, where, what size, et cetera, and coming back with some recommendations on that. Now, on the renewable side, looking at solar at some or all of your facilities, at least running the numbers on what that looks like. This is something that just in the last year has really changed a lot because of the investment tax credit, the ITC. Half of your schools are eligible for about a 40% reduction in the cost of that, meaning a 25-year payback last year, there's more like a 15-year payback this year. So it's changed the narrative on solar paybacks there. And so we're going to run numbers and see what pencils out on the solar side. And then specifically at the district office, if you remember, Dave knows the date by heart, July 11th of last year, you lost power. And luckily it was before school started, but it created all sorts of chaos because that's your central hub. Staff was sent home, and so looking at a resiliency solution there paired with the solar potentially to where if that happens in the future, you've got a backup solution to be able to continue district operations, the entire district, not just the district office. And then lastly, on the scope side, water is becoming more and more critical, especially in Arizona. You've got a pretty high percentage of your water for an elementary district. I don't know why yet. But that's something we're going to be looking into and figuring out where are there opportunities to lower that utility cost, lower that utility usage on the water side. And then on the sustainability side, looking at a more comprehensive sustainability plan. If the governing board and district leadership finds value in this, looking at a more comprehensive sustainability plan for the district.
Oh, it's time for my walk.
That's the first. I've heard a lot of things in governing board meetings, not a done. But this is something that your neighbors with both City of Tempe and ASU are leading the charge on sustainability. The community has already been very supportive of that in Tempe. So looking at a more cohesive sustainability plan for the future and how we're actually going to implement that, including student and community engagement and also branding and marketing. Our marketing team focuses on just generic ideas on Tempe Goes Green and some sustainability quotes or some creative things they can do on that side. And then the last one I'll touch on here is the grant and rebate side. So as I mentioned, everything is self-funding. We're looking at where we can find as much funding for the district as possible. A large part of that oftentimes comes from grants. And there's more grant money out there today than there has ever been in history, about $4 billion in federal sustainability grants for everything we're recommending. We've helped our customers capture over $800 million in federal grants. And so we've got a team, a grants team that looks at everything we're doing in the district and see where we can find funding for those improvements. On the financial side, again, we did a very high level look. But this is not a small savings number. We think you could be potentially overpaying on utilities by about $500,000 a year because of your inefficient systems. So we hope we can capture that in our next step, that deep dive investment grade audit, looking at about $500,000 in annual savings. Our grants team thinks about $5.8, maybe $6 million worth of targeted grants they've identified that Kentucky would be very, I won't say likely to get because they're grants, but highly competitive for on the grant side. And so looking at the grants and the savings over the life of this equipment, we're looking at over $20 million in potential life cycle savings for the district. So not a small amount there. And the self-funding piece, as I mentioned, we're recommending replacing all of this stuff. We've got to find the funding for that. So we're confident that we could very easily self-fund about $10 to $14 million that you can pull out of your budget that you typically be paying for these systems, that we can self-fund with the savings in grants for some of this equipment. Let's go over this slide. So next step we talked about. It's a deeper dive investment grade audit. My team will spend the next several months on site, on all of your sites, doing a deep dive into all of your facilities, systems, and identifying a turnkey solution that we can bring back in front of the board, likely sometime towards the end of the year, along with a guaranteed savings number, guaranteed cost number. And the way we structure this, there's no cost for the IGA, assuming the district proceeds with the project at the end of this. Only time there's a cost is if we get done with the design, development, engineering at the end of this 8 months, and the district says, we're going to go a different route and not implement any projects, then we've got to set up kind of like an exit fee to recoup some of those development costs. So that is all I've got. I'll just leave this up here and then open it up for questions or comments from the board. Yes, ma'am.
He gets to tell me.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I have a few questions. You want me to ask just one or all
Go
together?
ahead.
Okay. First, I was so excited to see this because these ACs look like my ACs. So I understand my house was built in 1974 with everything else here. So this is probably a question for Dave. Do we have a team that can help reinstall all of this new stuff? Do you have enough people to keep up with what you're doing now and then make these adjustments as quickly as we can?
So, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Driscoll, I think what Brandon was saying also, it'll be a complete turnkey. If I understood you correctly, it'll be a complete turnkey process once they identify the deficiencies and the cost savings.
Okay.
So to add on that, yeah, this investment grade audit is not meant to come sit on a shelf, but our end game is making these recommendations and then Schneider Electric actually implementing each of the solutions.
Great. Okay. The investment that we have to make up front, Eric,
Yeah.
how do you feel about that?
So I feel good about that. So essentially we'd be using bond dollars up front
Okay.
to then save M&O dollars. And the M&O dollars will go toward things like teachers and staff.
Mhm.
So it's leveraging where we have more money, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
to where we don't have as much money in M&O.
Because we're not restricted, we can use it for that, right? It's all good.
We can use it.
Okay. What schools are we concentrating on? Because we have schools that are on the list for rebuild. So are we concentrating on, there you go.
Not the ones that are on the list for rebuild. So we've worked closely with Dave and the team on identifying which sites we'll be looking at, because we do not want to be spending any time or money looking at those sites that are scheduled for rebuild in the near future.
And when we do have rebuild, would you also be available to look at making sure that we're using the right resources on that rebuild to continue to get something like this?
Absolutely.
And lastly, you kind of answered it, how are you paid? So you said on the pre, it's kind of absorbed into the project. Is it by job cost basis and then you get it back and you hire the contractors and that's where it comes from? How are you paid?
It's very similar to a general contract.
Okay.
And so we're identifying all the solutions coming forth and then doing competitive subcontractor bidding for things like the solar or the lighting or whatever it looks like, and then acting as a general contractor to go actually implement all the recommendations.
Okay, and the last question is in regards to getting the solar on the schools. So we do have some that have the solar on the parking and the solar on the building. Has there been any talk with Schneider Electric? And I was going to reach out to our state legislature also on partnering with SRP in order to help with some of these costs, because grants are not enough, because they're going to get, the way the SRP is set up is they get a lot of that residual extra. It just is. It's like where we are. It's different than APS is set up. So are you able, or do you have a relationship with the corporations to not only find the grant funding, but also find the participation funding from them as a community member to help us in achieving this higher level of solar?
Absolutely. Yeah, we work very closely with all of the utility companies across the state. SRP doesn't have a ton at the moment on the solar side. They've got a few other rebates and incentives to help some of the other pieces. However, SRP and APS both have the flexibility to and discretion to help with some of these things, and we've got close relationships with both of them. So when we've got a solution teed up, we will meet with your SRP rep to figure out where they might be able to help on some of those things.
So you'll be included in that conversation along with Dr. Driscoll. Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I was excited when I was looking at it this weekend.
That's true.
Go ahead.
Thank you for your presentation. This is truly exciting, the potential savings our district can have. My only consideration for some of this technology is, technology, comes and goes pretty quickly. I don't know what the life cycle of solar panels are, how that's fared with our current panels, and what's kind of gone on there, if that's a consideration of some of the valuation here in terms of the cost. It looks like we're looking at a 25-year timeline here. And I love the idea of having EV chargers. I know that's the direction more people are going, more car companies. Have you explored which type of EV chargers, level 2 chargers, or the ones that charge quickly?
That will be part of our assessment, absolutely. Yeah, and if I had to guess, I would say probably level 2, because the infrastructure and cost of the level 3s at each site will probably be prohibitive. But part of our assessment is figuring out who do we think is going to be charging here, how long do we think will be there, and so we do an EV infrastructure plan for the district to help figure out exactly how many, how big, where at, et cetera, and we co-author that with district leadership.
In regards to the solar panels of the ones that we already have, are those still functioning appropriately? Are those kind of
They are. When we installed those at that time, and I'm sure they're a lot better now, they had a 20-year life cycle when we installed them. So at Brogan Center, I think we installed that covered parking in 2000, maybe 12, somewhere around there, with a 20-year life cycle.
And I love the idea of covered parking for everybody, because I know I was parking in my garage at work, undershaded, and I got in trouble. I have to park on the roof. I wasn't paying for it, so we definitely need everyone wants covered parking, especially in the summer. Car batteries damage, and it's just dangerous. But speaking of dangerous or potentially dangerous things, I love the idea of being sustainable with grass, gas structures, but one consideration too is like unintended consequences, ensuring that we're using the best materials. Some of those are cancer and other dangerous chemicals. So just really considering all the changes that we are making are intentional. Hopefully we've been working with trying to think about when we do new builds about native ecology and things like that gives us a little bit of savings because we want to still have things that keep it cool. Grass does help, so whatever we can do to keep our campuses cool. But yeah, I really love everything you've done here today, and we are very fortunate to live in Tempe, where I know this is where we have a very forward-thinking, city leaders and university that is definitely on the same page. So leveraging whatever we can with them as well. I know that they do plenty of rebates, some of these items as well. Hopefully we qualify for those as well.
And to the point about the SRP rep, also, I wouldn't say it's about most districts, but given your location with City of Tempe and their sustainability initiatives and also ASU, I'm going to under-promise and we over-deliver, but we have every expectation to be reaching out to them and seeing how they might be able to partner in some of this and aligning what we're doing with what they're doing, vice versa. There's some huge synergy potential there that we'll absolutely be evaluating.
Thank you so much, and thank you to our district leadership and Dave and everybody who's always thinking about what we can do more efficient and better. So thank you guys.
Of course. Do you have any questions?
Just one. I just wanted to have a clarification on what you said about the new builds. If I heard Ms. Ewers correctly, she was asking if you were going to essentially study it after the design was developed. did I hear your answer correctly, that you would like essentially offer a study on it, or was it to partner in the beginning when developing the system?
I prefer to help on the front end of that, to where you can
Okay.
still have an impact. But the reality is we can do, we're not going anywhere. That's why we're looking at a longer term partnership and solution, and that we'd love to have input in our recommendations as you're building these. And then also after you build them, doing a study to say, hey, are these, I've done a lot of work with Fieldwood schools, and they're, at the time, newest campus, Campo Verde, had all these new technologies and efficiencies. It was their highest user by far. And so helping to figure out, just because you've got the latest technology, latest systems, doesn't mean it's actually saving what you think. So helping to figure out how to optimize that can make a big difference.
Good. That if we go this direction, this would be something that would be of the highest priority to me, is that whatever we put in elsewhere is the same for even our new builds, and so to keep it consistent all the way across. I don't like different systems having to communicate with each other.
Agreed.
Thank you.
My only question, just because you said, and the answer very well might be that you don't know the why on why the water is so high, but do you have the answer as to where the water is being used the most? Is one campus like extraordinarily much higher than the rest?
You have some that are higher than others. You've got more grass, I think, than most elementary districts, which doesn't help. And so we're challenges, there's not a ton you can do there other than going to Xeriscape, which is a whole other challenge. The short answer is no. We've done just a very high level look at that. Our next step is, as a great audit, we'll be doing, I'll know exactly where that's being used, why it's higher than normal, and most importantly, what we can do to actually impact that.
That was my only question. I appreciate your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you all for your time.
Moving on, interest-based negotiation agreement. Mr. McKinney.
All right. Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Driscoll, it's one of my favorite nights of the year. And sorry, the smiling faces are really here for IBM. I just.
That's sustainability.
That's right, that's right. Okay, so I'm really happy to be here. We have our IBM, some of our team members here. I'd just like to recognize individuals that are here. Obviously, Mr. Thompson sits on our team, Mr. Strauss, Bernie Sharp, I didn't see her, okay. But that's our TD3 administrative team. And then, Darren, do you want to introduce the TEA side? Because we have some new members as well.
Yeah, so continuing with the rest of the team, obviously myself, I sit on the team. To my left, we have Taylor Webb, who's at Mosley. Allison Holden, who's one of our teachers at Fuller. We have Kelly Trujillo, who's our SAS over at Aguilar. And then Christina Palmerian is our office manager over at Conway Middle School.
This was a really great team. Everybody that was new to the team learned the process quickly and was able to be a huge contributor to the process. So just to give a quick overview, every year we come together. We did come to an agreement after the survey was sent out. Remember that the survey looks for salaries, benefits, working conditions. One of the most important parts that I want to stress in this is that we remind every employee that every employee has a voice. That voice is specifically when the IBM survey comes out. Anything that is specific to you that you want the team to hear, whether it's related to any of those categories, every employee has a voice. And so the team continued to address everything that affected those categories. One thing I want to point out, last year, if you recall, we did have a compensation study that was conducted. That information is not old data. We continue to use that information because we addressed some groups last year. We continue to use that compensation study with this IBM cycle. So I'm not going to read through everything. You've had the opportunity to see, but just to highlight some of the things, we were able to provide raises to our teachers, to our counselors, our social workers, nurses. And I know that a popular conversation that came up was our years of service. We're extending our years of service that we accept for individuals that come to us from other districts so that we can continue to be competitive in our recruiting as well. Going on, we have some of our health services department, psychologists, BCBA, HIVI, SLPs, OTPT, and then any other certified staff that's returning, and 2% raises for administrators as well. Going back to our compensation study, these were some of the groups that we were able to address that we weren't able to address last year. I want to point out one that we're very proud of. At the direction of Dr. Driscoll, we actually are going to be increasing our bus drivers by $3 an hour. In our regionalized transportation, we're going to be right at the top. Short of what other districts do in the next 5 minutes.
That's today.
Timestamp that comment. So, but very thoughtful in what groups we looked at. Again, going through the compensation study, Eric did tremendous work in identifying all of the groups that were part of the compensation study, the groups that were not addressed, and who was next in that cycle that we could address. Okay, so that's all the groups there. So within that, I also want to point the bottom bullet. Everything within there in this proposal, we update the miscellaneous rate schedule to reflect any increases in compensation. Okay, this is a very wordy slide, but I'll kind of go through here to say this is related to our insurance. If you remember correctly, last year we did make some changes with our plan design. We used to offer 2 free plans. We still have a free plan. I want to point that out. I know that was very important last year in this conversation. So we still have the HSA contribution, which is a free plan to employees, as well as our low and high plan that do come with a employee cost. No other changes related to the premiums, dental, short-term disability, life insurance, and actually the state retirement contribution actually decreases by very slight percentages. One of the other things that came through is that we made a recommendation of paid parental leave. This is awesome. It's a great opportunity. It is going to require a change in policy or creation of policy, change in regulations. That would require the superintendent and, of course, the board's approval. As the IBN team, we're recommending 20 days for employees who qualify, but we'll be creating that policy prior to the July 1 start date. And it would be effective for this upcoming school year. Okay, just to go over the process again, after we, as an IBN team, come up with this agreement, submit it to Dr. Driscoll for approval. Once Dr. Driscoll reviews it, we do a 5-day ratification process that goes out to all of our staff. After it's completed, obviously it's presented to our governing board. And I'm proud to say that our staff in TD3 overwhelmingly approved of the IBN agreement this year. Roughly 95%, just under 95% approval for the IBN agreement. If you recall in this process as well, we also send out to our teachers, to our certified teachers, a classroom site fund approval. And that one, again, overwhelmingly, 99%. I just have to say 4 people might have just missed and clicked the wrong button. So let's call it 100%. All right, so again, I'm here with smiling faces behind me to ask for the recommendation of the IBN team that you approve the 24-25 IBN agreement and that you approve the 24-25 professional investment plan. And of course, as always, thank you for your continued support. And I will open any questions for myself or for the team.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Yes.
Thank you to the team. I know it's not an easy task every year, and those of you who just joined, very appreciative of everything you do. I'm so happy. I think we're all very happy to see the bus drivers that we've been saying for the last several years. So I'm glad that we, considered the cycle with folks. And, overwhelmingly, everyone supported. I don't know if that's 29 those folks who said no are part of a particular group, but maybe that's a cycle to consider next time as well. With regards to the insurance, it looks like there is an increase to insurance to the district that we will be absorbing those costs. I guess my question is to you or to Dr. Thompson. How long can we, I'm glad that, again, that was a big point for us that we had a free option. But how long can we continue to absorb that? Is that going to be something that we may be able to do in the future, or?
I wish I had that crystal ball. Obviously, Ms. Hughes can attest because she sits on the trust board with us when we make these recommendations. Plan design years change from year to year, and everything that we can do to continue to remain competitive and not pass those costs on to our employees. I think Eric would attest, we make every best effort to do that. And we've consistently done that. And so I think as a group for both the trust board as well as the IBN team, we're proud of that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm very appreciative of that as well, and I know other districts have significantly increased their costs.
Agreed.
So
Agreed. Those conversations we don't enter into those lightly, for sure. Thank you. Any other questions?
I have a couple, did you raise your hand? Okay. I have a couple questions. I was wanting to know sustainability, so thank you for answering that question. I really am grateful that you increased the years of service. That's a difficult one when you want to change to a different district that you don't get that honored. I was wanting to know and I can't recall from last year, when we had the audit of all of our salary schedules, did that include the miscellaneous schedule as well?
The miscellaneous rate schedule wasn't specifically reviewed, but what we do as the IBM team is any compensation changes that happen, then we look to make those changes specifically in the rate schedule.
Okay.
The one thing we do pay attention to is the stipend portion of it. Anybody who voices a concern on the survey, I have to remind you guys, this team goes through thousands and thousands of comments. There isn't a single comment that an employee makes that we don't read. And so if it's on there, what we do is we create a list of hot topics and we say, okay, this has come up multiple times, and then we have conversations. So most of the times if there's a request for a stipend, it's because there's advocacy for it. And so
Is there ever a request to eliminate stipends?
Eric, is there
Like specific ones?
not necessarily to, I'd say it's the other way. Every year we get more and more advocacy
Sure, everybody wants more
for
money.
give me more money, give me in the form of a stipend.
Yeah.
One of the things that we purposely talk about in this committee is to say, can we put it in their base? Because if we have the opportunity to put it in their base,
Protected.
it is. And we always say compounding interest, guys, pay attention. But yeah, that's always the goal, is if we can put it in their base, that's what we try to do. Obviously with the caveat of trying to remain competitive as a district, if there's things we have to do, we do it. But the joke with Eric is always that he'd love to, if we could get rid of stipends tomorrow, that would be great, right?
But I'd like to put them in the base. I don't want to not pay. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, thank you. Educational increments.
Yes.
Are we increasing that? I know we've done it for years, I've argued for years to
Yeah.
keep it.
It's still in there. We're continuing to fund educational increments. Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Actually, I want to thank you for the presentation and
Absolutely.
all the team's work, and especially the paid parental leave. It's
Yeah,
just an
you bet.
outstanding thing.
More to come on that, so, yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Moving on to item 501, the consent agenda.
Motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Charlotte, seconded by Monica. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Part of the consent agenda, just want to thank Access ASU for their $6,500 donation. Mr. McGee.
All right. Nice, hey again. All right. All right, Mr. President and members of the board, Dr. Driscoll. Very excited tonight to highlight the individual that you approved on the personnel summary. Tonight you approved Ms. Elizabeth Sackler to the position of Principal of Meyer Montessori, and I'll share a little bit about her background. Elizabeth earned a bachelor's degree in elementary education from Keene University, a master's degree in reading and literacy from Walden University, and a second master's degree in educational leadership from Northern Arizona University. Elizabeth brings an extensive background in education, serving in such roles as classroom teacher, dean of students, and most recently as the assistant principal at CTA Independence in Chandler Unified School District. Those of us that have had the pleasure to meet Elizabeth have observed her passion, dedication, and commitment to the students and that she possesses, and cannot wait to see her thrive as she joins the district and serves the Montessori community. So, congratulations, Elizabeth.
Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Driscoll. It's my pleasure to stand before you today. I've been in education for 16 years, and I'm really excited to take on this next journey as the Meyer Montessori principal. I have a very strong passion for educating young minds, and Meyer Montessori was just a school that just encompasses everything that I believe in. It's great for children, educating the whole child, and just personalizing those learning experiences. I have two of my own daughters sitting right beside me, and I'm going to do my very best to make sure that all students grow and learn. Their voices are heard, and the teachers are empowered, and they stand before me and lead Meyer Montessori. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I'm excited to get started next year. So this is Samantha. She is in first grade. She's almost a second grader.
All right.
Can you say hi? This is Ashley. She's a 3rd grader, almost big 4th grader. She just had her cheer recital, so she's ready to cheer me on too. Say hi. And this is my husband, Chris, always supporting me in my journey. So I'm excited to be here with him today and excited to stand before you and serve the Tempe Elementary School District. So thank you for this privilege.
Elizabeth, here's the fun part, is after we do this, you guys get to leave.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mr. President, members of the board, tonight you also approved Jennifer Nussbaum to the position of Director of Innovator Environments and School Design. And I'll just share briefly about her experience. She brings an extensive background in education, serving in such roles as classroom teacher, dean of students, and most recently as the founding principal for the Weinberg Gifted Academy at Chandler Unified School District. Sorry, Chandler. Jennifer is eager to utilize her knowledge and experience to make our district a better place. She unfortunately couldn't be here tonight because she's celebrating her son's graduation from LSU. And so, yes, so she's excited, but she wanted me to say thank you for the opportunity and looks forward.
And yes, as referenced, if you wish to leave, you may leave. You're more than welcome to stay. however.
Thank you so much.
Moving on to 601, all the public, there are no blue cards. So, So we are moving on to item 701, discussion, consideration, and possible approval to adopt the 2024-2025 interstate negotiations agreement with the miscellaneous rate schedules between Tempe School District Number 3 and Tempe Elementary Education Association and 2024-2025 Classroom Site Fund Plan.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the 2024-2025 interspace negotiations agreement with the miscellaneous rate schedules.
So moved. Second. Sorry. I'm just excited about it.
Motion by Charlotte, seconded by Allison. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to 702, discussion, consideration, possible approval of the Director of Communications position and corresponding job description.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Director of Communications position and job description.
Second.
Motion by Charlotte, seconded by Monica. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Love applause. 703, discussion, consideration, possible approval of the Dean of Students position and corresponding job description.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Dean of Students position and job description.
I'll second.
Motion by Charlotte, seconded by Monica. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Yay! There's people watching.
I saw the dean too many times. It's a lovely position.
And look where you.
Missing the critical.
Hold that for board information. Not very good. Item 801, standing committees, reports.
The agenda, is that me now?
Yes.
Okay. The Tempe Group Insurance Fund met last Friday, and a few things. Thank you, Mrs. Trejo. I still call you Ms. Trejo. It's a habit. Thank you for asking that question. It is something that I'm grateful for having an Eric in our group to find a way to make sure that all of our employees have a no cost to them plan, which doesn't mean that it's a no cost, but it's a no cost to them plan. And then I'm going to repeat it just in case people call me again tomorrow. There's a no-cost plan at Tempe Elementary. We have not gotten rid of it, and we're excited to keep it and find a way to keep it. Costs have gone up. The main thing that I ask is that we're going to all have to participate. Based on your question, we all have to participate in this program together, and one of the main things is pharmaceutical costs have gone up over 9%. Now, can we control the pharmaceutical companies? No, but what we can control is the way we shop. And the way we shop is by using generic when you can, so talk to your doctors about generic, or by using mail order pharmacy when you can. And to, believe it or not, once you get on it, it seems a little inconvenient at the beginning, but it's so nice because it just automatically comes to your door. If we can start participating in those two things, it's going to make a huge dent in what our costs are coming up for our renewal next year, and I'm not kidding, it's huge. So I need everyone to participate as much as possible and to get your exams, your well woman and your well man exams. Preventative health care is going to be at the top of our charts. One, why? Because we care about you. We care about your health. And we care about making sure that we're offering you the things that you want and that you need and the services. And two, because if we find something or you find something, we can help you at an earlier stage. Again, it's a win-win for both of us because it will be less costly. And I can be the poster child for that because finding things early can save your life. The other thing that I wanted to let you know is that the board, we have like the best insurance board. Like they passionately really, really like doing this. And we are doing everything we can, including participating in any invites we get to see if there's another way to do what we're doing in order to get the benefits and that. So I wanted to let you know that we will be touring places. We will be going to anything that we get invited to. And it's not just we two people. It's like the group is enthusiastically involved in wanting to participate. So there's some exciting things that we've been looking at. I'm hopeful that they will continue to help us and keep that dollar amount down by keeping the benefits up. One thing that I want you all to look at, and it's in your inbox, is talking about the Headway, the mental health program. It's absolutely phenomenal, and it's something that teachers don't have to get in their car and go someplace and get the help they need, or their families. It's something that you can do by call, you can do by text, you can do online, you can do by Zoom. If you need the help, we're offering it and you can get it. And I'm hoping that people take advantage of that program because it's kind of a new way to make sure that we're available to you at any time when you need it, so that we can make sure that you can get back to doing the things that you need to do in your regular life and taking care of our kids. So take a look at that in your watch for it. I know some people do not open Sandra's emails, and if I hear that one more time, I'm going to just start making t-shirts that say open Sandra's emails, because these are the things that you need to start doing, and you need to start reading those, because all of them are beneficial to you, 100% beneficial to you. It's all good. Enrollment, I have here that it's closed Friday. Is it this Friday? Okay, I just want to make sure enrollment, not last Friday. Your enrollment is closed Friday, so check that out. There's been a little bit of changes, not a ton of changes. The changes that had to be made on anybody's cost was regulated by the government. It was not regulated by the board. It was not regulated by your trust or Dr. Driscoll. So if you were on a higher deductible plan, it went up to $3,500, but the rest of it we maintained at the level that you were expecting, and we kept it that way. And thank you to Eric, he made that happen for us. And there is a program coming up that's very interesting, so I want you guys to hear more about it, but the mental first aid training, to have mental first aid trainers in our schools. It's a really cool opportunity, and it makes me want to be an employee even more, because this is something that I would want to take. So please listen to that buzz when you hear it, and think about maybe volunteering or getting other people to volunteer in your community, in your school. And I think that's it. We're doing the best that we can to take care of you all, and if you could just help us with a few things on keeping costs down that you know that you can affect us with, please, please, please encourage principals, encourage your people to do that. It's going to have to be a give or take here because the costs are skyrocketing, and if we just have a lot of take, we're going to get hit really hard. So, thank you, Mr. President.
If there's any other standing committee.
Did
Moving
you
on
committee?
to 901, board information. Board information.
Board information?
None for me?
I do. Of course I have board information.
All right.
Okay, first I'd just like to tell everyone congratulations, you've almost made it through the year. Yay! We all have. And welcome Mr. and Mrs. Trejo back from their awesome vacation and honeymoon. I hope that it was I hope it met all your expectations and made dreams come true.
It's still here.
Yeah, he's still here, that's good. They're still married? Oh, that's good. So I just want to say that it's been delightful to be a part of this board with everybody through this year. And some things to think about when our kids are going home. And this is for parents and community members, is that we need to be there for our kids that are in need as much as possible. If you see someone in need, you have extra water to give to our food banks. All of those things are going to start to add up. It's going to be a tough year for some of our families. And second, if you have a pool, I went to the YMCA this week and did a little training. I am a water watcher. Make sure you assign somebody. It doesn't matter the ages. We see kids in their teens that have been drowning lately. It's already started. So the drowning count on your nightly news is there, and that makes me so sad. I just want that to go away. And talk to your kids. I know I keep saying this about fentanyl, but we had just talk to your kids about fentanyl. It's serious, people. We lost another child in the state of Arizona, and there's several others right now at one of our local hospitals that have been to parties lately, graduation parties, and these are not all high school kids. These are young kids who either A, thought they were having a Skittle, B, had somebody deliver something that would make them feel better while their parents were away working and they were home, and they're just delivering to these kids' doors for a low cost, some of them less than $1. So please, I'm gonna hammer this down, and I'll probably be saying it for the rest of my life, unfortunately. I just would like to never have to say that again for the rest of my life. So thank you, Mr. President, and have a great summer, everybody.
Just two things real quick. I know it's concert and showcase week, and we're in the, 90 days of May, right? And I just am so appreciative of all the teachers who go above and beyond to make sure that all those events happen, even though we're all exhausted from them. We know that they're important to our kids. And I wanted to give a big shout out to the administration for utilizing the TSI funds the way you did for the Dean of Students. It's a super important role. It's super hard to fund. And that is one of the best ways I've ever heard anybody use those funds. So good job for that. That's it.
Alrighty. Moving on to 10:01, announcements, upcoming events. The last day of school is Thursday, May 29th, 2024. 23rd.
Third.
Last day of school is Thursday, May 23rd, 2024. There will be an agenda committee on Wednesday, June 5th, 2024 at 11 a.m. There will be a governing board retreat on Thursday, June 6th, 2024 at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Little America Hotel in Flagstaff, Arizona. The ASBA Summer Leadership Institute is Thursday, June 6th through Saturday, June 8th at the Little America Hotel in Flagstaff, Arizona. The next regularly scheduled governing board meeting will be Wednesday, June 12th, 2024 at 6 p.m. with an executive session at 5 p.m. in the Cara Arredondo Governing Board Room in the regular administrative building. 11:01, meeting adjourned.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Charlotte, second by Monica. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned.